And now we will come to face an issue about the respiratory vaccine, let's say, like IB, and combine it with other vaccines, or the interval, if I have time, the interval between the first one and the second one, either IB or ND-IB, or let's say ND, because, but at the same time.
Well, at this point, there is a kind of, well, maybe a simple rule: more is not always better. That's I absolutely agree with you that sometimes you see vaccination programs. Well, I've seen, for example, in some parts in Asia in which they vaccinated for Newcastle every week. Well, this is not beneficial for the chick or the vaccine. It's better to apply respiratory vaccines together at the same day, or with 14 days in between. That's better than 1 week difference. So if you would like to vaccinate for IB and Newcastle, for example, it's more if you have a suitable combination, because that's another issue. Not all vaccines can be combined. But let's say if you apply IB and Newcastle at the same day, then both vaccines should have a good chance to find sufficient amount of cells to get in and to induce immunity. If you do one 7 days after another, you make it very difficult for the second vaccine. If you put 2 weeks in between, it should be okay. So, and let's say if you vaccinate with a respiratory vaccine, let's say 3, 4, 5, 6 days after another respiratory vaccine, you're making it the second vaccine a lot more difficult to have a good, fast immunity. It does not block the virus, but you will see on average a delayed protection, or sometimes no protection. You will see more rolling reactions. So if you have the opportunity to apply them at the same day, or about 2 weeks in interval, that would be ideal.
Now you came to the point that you said, okay, if you can combine vaccine, do you mean the combined vaccine which has been made by company itself, or I can knock the door in this clinic? Can I have a Newcastle? Can I have IB and take them and I mix them on the field and at the same day to avoid what the disadvantage of the interval when it's short?
No, that's an excellent point. If you look, for example, look at in the literature for Newcastle IB combinations, you can find in the literature any result that both work well, that both do not work well, that IB works well but Newcastle does not, or the other way around, Newcastle works well but IB does not. So it shows it is strain specific when you can combine vaccines or not. And you also have let's say, if you have a combination that has been registered or proven by the company that produces the vaccines, then the company has to prove that the minimum dose of one vaccine with the maximum dose of the other one, it still works. The other way around, it also works. So whatever batch you will buy in the field from that company, from that vaccine, the combination is in the good balance that it can work together. If you buy Newcastle for company A and IB from company C, you do not know. Nobody has looked at the balance of the minimum and maximum doses, and sometimes it might go well, sometimes it might not go well. You don't know. So combination of a company that has shown that this combination is a suitable one, that is really the best thing to do.
As you mentioned, for example, when you go to the field conditions, we are more or less like close by an environment that reminds us about a battlefield. And in a battlefield, should us, for example, make the choice to start the fight against the weak or the strongest enemy? I mean, we should go first to vaccinate it, for example, with the less virulent and less pathogenic virus, and afterwards you go to the strongest one, or if you start with the strongest one, we should have more time to give the second vaccination with the weakest one. So again, it's the question of balance.
Yes.
Which weapon we should take to go directly to the point in the battlefield?
No, it's. I think the thing that we see in the field is that with Newcastle and IB, they are quite competitive to each other. They are quite strong vaccines. But for example, if you look at avian metapneumovirus, avian metapneumovirus is for me the most difficult respiratory vaccine to apply. It has been shown that IB vaccine on average replicates much better, much faster than avian metapneumovirus vaccines. So if you apply, and it's in the literature, so I didn't make it up. If you apply IB first, and then let's say 6-7 days later, avian metapneumovirus vaccine, this vaccine will be in big trouble because it will have a hard time to give a good immunity within a certain number of weeks. It's really, you're very likely you're going to see it back only after 3-4 weeks later in some chicks. If you do first avian metapneumovirus vaccine and then let's say IB 3, 4, 5 days later, IB is still strong enough to get in, and then IB can compensate much more than avian metapneumovirus vaccine. So if let's say for many problems you can still find a solution in the field that works, but for avian metapneumovirus vaccine, for me that's the weakest one. And then you really must take care of this one. Then this you must give this the priority, and then IB can compensate later on. But okay, let's say in many areas, IB or certainly Newcastle can be the main priority diseases. Yeah, and then I think the priority, if you have a really Newcastle challenge, early challenge, then the priority is Newcastle. End of discussion. If Newcastle is like in Europe, the pressure is very low, but a quite high IB challenge, then IB is priority number one. You have to, in the Middle East, Usam, it might be that in some areas both are quite an early challenge, and then ideally you would like to have a vaccination program maybe already in a hatchery. That's with a suitable combination. It really depends on the situation.